Hey, I'm Daniel and I'm absolutely fascinated by cities, first-person drives and super complex infrastructure squeezed into difficult terrain. Really specific, I know. So where do we find all of that? Exactly, in Los Angeles. There we have one of the most unusual freeways in the country, the Arroyo Seco Parkway, or State Route 110. It's often described as America's first freeway, opened in 1940 to connect Pasadena with downtown Los Angeles. But driving it today feels completely different from almost any modern highway. Narrow lanes, tight curves and on-ramps that look more like driveways to your house's garage. So why is it like this? Why does one of the busiest and car-centric cities in the world still rely on a freeway designed before seatbelts, before standardized lane widths and before the modern interstate era even began? In this video we'll explore the southern stretch from the Four Level Interchange near downtown, past Dodger Stadium and through the Figueroa Street Tunnels to the I-5 interchange above the Los Angeles River. Simply fascinating stuff. Why were these tunnels built into the hillside instead of rerouting the road? How did engineers fit a 6-lane freeway into a space that barely had room for 4? And what happens today when 80-year-old design standards meet hundreds of thousands of cars every day? We'll look at the choices that shaped this corridor, how the terrain dictated every curve and ramp, and what consequences those early design decisions still have for Los Angeles traffic today. Let's explore America's oldest freeway. The southern end of the Arroyo Seco Parkway begins at one of Los Angeles' most iconic freeway junctions, the Four Level Interchange. And yes, it's officially just called like that, kinda funny when you think about it. This is where US 101 meets State Route 110 just north of downtown. When it opened in 1949, it was the first 4-level stack interchange ever built, and a model for modern highway design across the United States. At that time, it represented a bold new idea, separating every traffic movement vertically, so cars could move freely without signals or crossings. But what makes this interchange truly special isn't just its innovation, it's how it manages to fit into such a small footprint. Wedged between the steep slopes of Elysian Park and the edge of downtown Los Angeles, engineers had only a few blocks of space to work with. Instead of sprawling outward, they built upward. 4 decks of roadways rising more than 30 meters above the ground in a design that connects all roads in the most direct way, completely without additional loops. Such a beauty, honestly. The futuristic design relied entirely on manual calculations and physical models. No computers, no simulations. Every curve, clearance and elevation was drawn by hand. The result was a compact but extremely precise interchange. It quickly became a symbol of Los Angeles post-war transformation. Proof that freeways could be elegant, efficient and built right into the heart of the city. But decades later, those same design choices show their age. The ramps are narrow, the turning radii are tight and the shoulders are almost non-existent. Modern vehicles travel faster and are wider than those in the 1940s, and that mismatch slows vehicles down and creates safety concerns. Still, the interchange has endured more than 70 years with only minimal structural changes. It remains fully operational and most of all, visually beautiful. Leaving the interchange, the Arroyo Seco Parkway threads its way along the edge of Elysian Park, right below Dodger Stadium, one of the most recognizable ballparks in the United States. This section of freeway is built on a steep slope, with a noticeable height difference between the northbound and southbound lanes at some points. On one side, the terrain rises sharply into parkland. On the other, it drops toward Chinatown, with a complex network of ramps and exits squeezed into the space between. The roadway itself dates back to the late 1930s, but Dodger Stadium came later, opening in 1962 on what was once a residential neighborhood known as Chavez Ravine. The stadium was built into the hillside and surrounded by an enormous ring of surface-level parking, more than 16,000 spaces, covering an area larger than many city parks. I don't know what to say about that, it just feels wrong. And it's hard not to question that choice. Instead of keeping Elysian Park green, the site became a vast island of asphalt, separating the stadium from both the park and the neighborhoods below. You can't help but imagine how different this place could feel if it had been designed differently. Hear me out, if the stadium had been rotated toward the Los Angeles skyline, giving fans a view of downtown while they watch the game. Just imagine that view. Or if those parking lots were replaced by underground garages topped with green space, turning the area into a continuous park rather than this giant sea of pavement. Okay Daniel, stop dreaming. That will probably never be the reality. Instead, on game days, traffic from the surrounding hills and local streets converges onto the limited ramps connecting to the parkway, creating congestion that often stretches for kilometers. The narrow lanes, short merges and few access points leave almost no capacity to handle the sudden surge of vehicles. This corridor clearly shows how Los Angeles layered its infrastructure, the freeway, the stadium and Elysian Park, all sharing the same space. North of Dodger Stadium, the Arroyo Seco Parkway enters one of its most distinctive sections, the stretch through the Elysian Hills and the Figueroa Street Tunnels. This corridor dates back to the very beginning of the Parkway project in the 1930s, when engineers had to connect downtown Los Angeles with Pasadena through steep, unstable terrain. Blasting through the hills was cheaper than building long viaducts, so they carved 4 separate tunnels, following the existing alignment of Figueroa Street. The concrete portals of the tunnels are a defining feature. Designed in the clean geometric Art Deco style typical of the period, they were meant to project modernity and permanence. Their appearance has changed little since 1940. Even the spacing of the lighting and the relief panels around the entrances remain largely original. When the parkway opened in 1940, these tunnels carried both directions of traffic. A few years later, new open-air lanes were added above, creating the unusual split-level layout that still exists today. The difference in elevation between the both directions is noticeable. At some points, more than 20 meters separate them. Because the alignment follows the natural topography, the road is narrow, winding, and lacks modern shoulders or breakdown lanes. Additionally, the exit ramps are extremely tight, some without merging lanes, and the lighting inside the tunnels is still minimal by current standards. Caltrans has reinforced the walls and resurfaced the pavement, but the geometry remains the same as it was more than 80 years ago. The surrounding area adds to the complexity, leaving little room for widening or realignment. The reservoir, parkland and steep grades make any major upgrade nearly impossible without large-scale excavation. It's one of the few places where drivers can still experience what early freeway travel in Los Angeles must have felt like, but that character comes at a cost. Limited capacity, high maintenance needs and accident rates consistently above the regional average. At its northern end, the Arroyo Seco Parkway connects to Interstate 5 at the confluence of the Arroyo Seco and the Los Angeles River. This interchange is one of the most spatially constrained, but one of the most fascinating in Los Angeles, built within a narrow corridor shared by multiple layers of infrastructure. Here, the parkway descends from the hills on 2 separate levels. The connecting ramps to I-5 branch off in tight curves, following the slope of the terrain and supported by concrete retaining walls before merging with the main freeway. The parkway itself stays elevated on a series of viaducts as it crosses the valley, then gradually returns to ground level, where it meets the remaining connections in a compact T-shaped interchange. Below the freeway, the Los Angeles River flows through its concrete flood control channel, built by the US Army Corps of Engineers in the 1930s. Parallel to the river are several freight rail lines and power transmission transmission corridors, all of which restricted how the interchange could be built. The result is a compact but highly complex system of bridges and ramps, each one carefully positioned to avoid conflicts with the river channel and utilities. I actually tried to rebuild all of that in City Skylines. Let me know what you think about the result. Even though all of that was built decades ago, the interchange still performs its original function, linking the Arroyo Seco Parkway to the regional freeway network. From the Four Level Interchange near downtown to the tight curves below Dodgers Stadium, through the Figueroa Street Tunnels, and finally to this dense web of bridges above the Los Angeles River. It was designed for a different era, smaller cars, lower speeds and far fewer drivers. Yet it still carries hundreds of thousands of vehicles every day. In some ways, it's outdated. In others, it's a remarkable piece of engineering that continues to work 8 decades later. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more stories about how cities and infrastructure evolve, make sure to leave a like, subscribe and maybe share this one with someone who also loves maps, roads and urban history. And if you want to support my work directly, you can join my Patreon. That helps the channel a lot and makes it stay sponsorship free. To everyone who already decided to support me there, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.